Hello, dear friends. Today is January 14th, 2025, and this is our traditional overview of the battlefield map. The main updates today focus on the South Donetsk and Kupiansk directions, as well as adjustments to the map in the Kursk direction, which we will discuss and review in this video. But before we begin, I would like to sincerely ask you to subscribe to the channel. Your subscription helps the channel grow. Many thanks to everyone who has already subscribed. Now, let's proceed to the map review. Starting with the Kursk region, there haven't been any significant changes to the map here. Let's begin by reviewing the settlement of Zhuravka. Recently, it was reported that Russian forces entered this settlement to cut off the Ukrainian group of troops in Nikolaevka Darina. However, no geolocated materials have been received to confirm this. It's possible that a reconnaissance group entered Zhuravka and then successfully or unsuccessfully left. Therefore, there are no changes in Nikolaevka Darina, although Russian forces have been attempting to storm this settlement for several weeks. Moving on to Pokrovsk, geolocated materials from this area confirm that it remains under the full control of Ukrainian forces. Therefore, we can conclude that this settlement is under Ukrainian control, while Russian forces are not present. Nonetheless, reports indicate that Russian troops are continuing their attempts to storm Pokrovsk, albeit unsuccessfully for now. Next, let's review the four settlements: Novaya and Staraya Sorochini, Nikolaevka, and Viktorovka. It was previously reported that Russian forces had entered and secured these areas. However, today's updates indicate that they are under the full control of Ukrainian forces, with no Russian troops present. Russian forces are reported to be present in Leonidovo, Alexandria, and Kruglenkoye. According to Ukrainian sources, the supply road leading to Malaya Lochnya is under full control of FPV drones from the Russian army. Two supply routes lead to Malaya Lochnya, but Russian forces in Leonidovo and Alexandria are approximately 3 kilometers from these roads, and from Ruskaya Porochnaya, the distance is about 4 kilometers. As a result, Russian forces maintain fire control over these supply routes, though there are no significant changes to the map here today. Now let's turn to Ruskaya Porochnaya. Ukrainian sources dispute the loss of this settlement, claiming it remains under their control, despite Russian reports and geolocated materials suggesting otherwise. Attacks are reportedly being conducted on Kositsa and Cherkasskaya Porochnaya. For now, positional battles are ongoing in this area, with no conclusive changes. Moving slightly south to Makhnovka, Russian sources recently claimed full control of this settlement. However, geolocated materials from Ukrainian sources indicate that control is divided, 50-50 between Russian and Ukrainian forces. We can thus mark part of the territory as under Russian control, while the remainder remains with Ukrainian forces. According to Ukrainian sources, Cherkasskaya Konopelka is under Ukrainian control, while Russian reports claim that Cherkasskaya Porochnaya has come under Russian control. This area is currently disputed, as is Kurilovka. Russian sources state they have secured the southern part of Kurilovka, while Ukrainian sources maintain it is under their control. We await geolocated materials to confirm these claims and update the map. Now let's move to Guyevo. To the east of the settlement, battles are ongoing in the forested areas. Russian forces have not yet been able to take the settlement by storm, and fighting continues in the forest. Otherwise, there are no significant updates here today. Turning to the Kupiansk direction, this area has seen changes both in the southern and northern parts. Starting in the north, Russian forces are reportedly expanding their zone of control in Dvorechnoye and are attacking along the entire line of contact. It has been reported that Russian forces successfully crossed the river in Nizhne Dvorechnoye and entered the northern part of the settlement. They are now working to expand their control, though there is no geolocated confirmation yet. Once such evidence is available, we will update the map. Further south, Russian forces are attacking the settlement of Zapadnoye. The Russian Ministry of Defense has announced that Kalinino is under their control. However, there is no actual settlement of Kalinino in this area, only slag heaps. Likely the Russian army has taken control of the supply road to Zapadnoye, possibly under both fire and physical control. Assault operations on Zapadnoye are expected to intensify in the coming days, potentially leading to its capture by Russian forces. We await geolocated materials to confirm these developments. In the southern part of the Kupiansk direction, battles have begun along the entire line of contact. Russian forces are focusing on Zelony Gai and Boguslavka, advancing towards Borovaya. Borovaya is a key logistics hub for Ukrainian forces in this area, making it a primary target for Russian advances. Otherwise, these are the key updates for this direction today. Finally, let's move on to the Krasny-Lyman direction. I'd like to remind you that it was previously reported that Terny had come under the control of Russian forces, and the clearing of this settlement is expected. Additionally, in recent days, reports have suggested that Russian forces are advancing toward Kolodetsy. However, no geolocated materials from this section of the battlefield have been received so far, so there are no significant changes to the map here. Let's move to the Siversk direction. Here, positional battles are ongoing. Fighting is reported in the area of the settlement of Belogorovka, as well as near Ivano-Daryevka and Verkhnekamenskoye. These are mostly positional battles, with no changes to the map. Now, let's move southward on the map to the north of Bakhmut. Russian forces have reportedly taken control of part of the settlement of Orakovo-Vasilevka. Many have begun speculating about the emergence of a new Slavyansk direction. However, it is more likely that Russian forces exploited a breach in the Ukrainian army's defenses and gained control over this area. Otherwise, there have been no significant advances in this direction for the past 3 years. Thus, this cannot be considered a major counteroffensive. Let's move to Chasov Yar. Ukrainian sources have provided updates. On this map, areas marked in red represent changes reported by Ukrainian sources. According to Russian reports, Russian forces control the northern part of the settlement. Additionally, it was reported that Russian troops managed to cross the railway station and the railway line here. Today, geolocated materials, or more precisely, reports from Ukrainian sources, indicate that all territory marked in red is under Russian control. As a result, it can be said that the Chasov Yar refractory plant is under the control of Russian forces. Otherwise, there are no significant changes here, and we are waiting for geolocated materials from the Russian side to update the map. Let's move now to Toretsk. Ukrainian authorities and military sources have acknowledged the loss of Toretsk, stating that the settlement has completely fallen under Russian control. We cannot yet update the map until geolocated materials are received, but monitoring and cartographic services already show this area as under Russian control. The only material received so far comes from this point, where battles were taking place between Russian and Ukrainian forces. Ukrainian sources have also reported the withdrawal of their troops from the Toretsk mine located here. Otherwise, there are no significant changes to the map today. The territory marked in red represents updates from yesterday. Let me remind you, 2 days ago, let's switch the map to an earlier state. This morning, geolocated materials confirmed that Russian forces are located at the road intersection connecting Konstantinovka and Pokrovsk. Thus, we can mark this entire territory as under Russian control, with the road now physically controlled by Russian forces. At the same time, assault operations are underway in Baranovka and Vodyanoye II. Russian forces are advancing in this direction. Otherwise, all territory marked in red is currently under Russian control. Let's now move to the Pokrovsk direction. From the settlement of Lisovka, no geolocated materials have been received, although it has been reported that Russian forces are already clearing this settlement. Similarly, no updates have been received from the settlement of Zelenoy from the Russian side. However, Ukrainian sources reported that Zelenoy has been fully abandoned and is now under Russian control. Geolocated material from the settlement of Novo-Ukranka confirms that Russian forces, using FPV drones, destroyed a Ukrainian mortar crew. This indicates that Novo-Ukranka remains under Ukrainian control. Otherwise, the map for today shows the following. All areas marked in red have fallen under Russian control over the past 2 days. Let's move further along the map to the settlement of Peshanaya. Today, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation reported that this settlement has come under full Russian control and has been completely cleared. However, no geolocated materials have been received yet. It was also reported that Russian forces raised a flag in the area. The only confirming material comes from this section, where it is 100% confirmed that Russian forces are present. Geolocated material indicates that forward positions are located here, and it can be observed that Russian forces have already entered the western outskirts of the settlement of Zverevo. However, this information is from 2 days ago. Russian forces entered the outskirts of Zverevo 2 days ago, and only today geolocated materials confirmed that this territory is under Russian control. It is possible that the Russian army controls slightly more territory. If Peshanaya has been taken, the area may look like this, though we are awaiting confirmation from this section of the battlefield to update the map. Now let's move slightly west on the map. All the territory marked in red is under Russian control. Yesterday evening, reports came in that Russian forces had taken control of the supply route between Udaknoye and Kotlin. The entire supply route to Pokrovsk is now under physical control. As you can see, Russian forces are advancing toward Udaknoye and Kotlin. Once these settlements come under Russian control, the situation for the Ukrainian army will become very challenging. When the Russian army approaches the M30 road, this being the main supply route to Pokrovsk, it will put additional logistical pressure on the Ukrainian forces.